What if the most sweeping summary of the gospel has been hiding in a verse you and I have flipped past 100 times without a second thought? Imagine unrolling an ancient parchment, its surface crackling beneath your fingertips, the ink of Genesis chapter 5 slightly faded yet perfectly legible. No miracles, no plagues, no parted seas, just a boring genealogy that strings 10 names together from Adam all the way to Noah. Yet embedded in those 10 syllables of Hebrew is a whispered prophecy so precise, so compact, it tells the entire redemption story in one breath. Pause with me at the very first name, Adam. In Hebrew it simply means man, a reminder of flesh, dust, and everyday breath. Nothing extraordinary until you pair it with the next name, Seth, whose root means appointed. 2 words spoken side by side, and the scroll has already announced a headline, man appointed. Appointed to what? Keep reading. Name 3 is Enosh, translating to mortal or frail. Suddenly the parchment is confessing, man appointed to mortality. Genesis is telling us, even before the flood, that humanity walks under a shadow of fragility. Then comes Kenan, rising off the page like a funeral dirge. His name means sorrow. 4 names, 4 brushstrokes, and we have painted the sad arc of existence, man-appointed mortal sorrow. If the genealogy ended here, it would be the bleakest of poems, but the parchment refuses despair. It breaks open with Mahalalo, whose syllables merge Mahalalo, praise, with El God. The tone flips from lament to promise, the blessed God. An unseen light flickers at the edge of the ink. The next name, Jared, means shall come down, as though heaven itself leans forward, prepared to invade the dust it once formed. The message now reads like thunder rolling across sand, the blessed God shall come down. Across millennia, these names waited for someone to slow down long enough to translate them, to hear their collective murmur. Ancient rabbis chanted the list without decoding its undercurrent. Medieval copyists duplicated it faithfully, still deaf to the sentence pulsing beneath. Only in recent generations did Hebrew scholars align each meaning end to end and hear the secret poem emerging from the silence. Next we approach Enoch, a name meaning teaching or dedicated instruction. Press your ear to the parchment, the story continues. Teaching. But teaching what? That answer lies in the thunderous weight of the next man, Methuselah. His name is often reduced to trivia about long lifespans, yet its literal sense is his death shall bring. Legend holds the flood began the very year Methuselah died, a single life pegged to a global judgment. Even his name swings like a gate between mercy and consequence. We pause, mid-list, to catch our breath. So far the ink has whispered, man appointed mortal sorrow, the blessed God shall come down, teaching that his death shall bring. But the scroll is not finished, 2 more names remain. They wait like final pieces of a puzzle, promising resolution where none seems possible. Keep your thumb in the parchment. We'll lift those last syllables in a moment. Behind these words stand real people who planted vineyards, buried children, built altars, and watched the sun sink behind antediluvian hills. They never saw their names braided into prophecy. Yet here we are, tracing each letter, the way an art restorer uncovers a fresco beneath centuries of soot. Step back and see the design, a red thread gospel stitched into history before the first covenant, before the stone tablets, before the prophets raised their thunderous voices. It is as though God whispered to the universe in code, confident time would one day teach us how to listen. What if your Bible has been whispering the entire gospel in a single breath, and you never heard it? Slide a finger across the brittle parchment of Genesis, chapter 5. No miracles, no thunder, just a dusty ledger of fathers and sons, 10 names deep. Adam, Seth, Enosh, Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah. A yawner of a genealogy, until you read it in Hebrew, and each name begins to glow like a hidden letter in invisible ink. Start with Adam. Simple enough. Man, earth-formed and breath-filled. Next comes Seth, whose root means appointed or set in place. Put them together, and the scroll breathes its first clause, man appointed. Already it sounds ominous, and the ink has barely left the quid. Say it aloud in Hebrew, and you can almost hear bones creak. It means mortal, frail. The sentence darkens, man appointed mortal. Then Kenan steps in, his name tied to sorrow, lament, dirge. 4 beats, 4 hammer strikes, man appointed mortal sorrow. If the genealogy stopped there, it would be a hopeless epitaph. But ancient ink is rarely that simple. The 5th name flips the mood like sunrise after a sleepless night. Mahalalel fuses Mahalal, praise with El God. It means the blessed God. Hope suddenly heaven leans earthward, the blessed God shall come down. Pause. These are not random labels, they're living tiles in a mosaic set long before Sinai, long before Bethlehem. Picture wandering scribes chanting the list by campfire light, oblivious to the whisper hiding underneath. The 7th name, Enoch, means teaching, and his life mirrors it, Genesis says. He walked with God, disappearing into divine embrace. His syllables keep the code moving, teaching, yet teaching what? The 8th name holds the riddle's hinge. Methuselah, famous for living 969 years, actually means his death shall bring. Rabbinic tradition claims the flood began the year he died, water following coffin like thunder after lightning. The sentence now reads like prophecy chiseled in stone, teaching that his death shall bring. Ink scratches on to the 9th name, Lamech, echoing the root for despairing, laments. Humanity's cry finds its word, the despairing. One name remains in this hidden liturgy. Noah means rest, comfort. The code closes like a sealed scroll. Man appointed mortal sorrow. The blessed God shall come down, teaching that his death shall bring the despairing rest. 10 ordinary lives, 1 extraordinary sermon, delivered centuries before crucifixion existed. The parchment in your hands almost trembles with intent. What seemed a family registry turns out to be a covert covenant, set to detonate at Calvary. Now step back and watch those names line up on a timeline. Adam to Noah spans 1,056 years, just over a millennium of dust, sweat, and altar smoke. Yet hidden beneath that stretch is a miniature gospel, incarnation, atonement, consolation. It's as if God planted a treasure map in chapter 5, waiting for language scholars and the curious-hearted to dig it up. Take a breath. The ink has more to reveal: Methuselah's cryptic lifespan, Noah's comfort after the flood, and the startling mathematics linking this genealogy to the New Testament cross. But let the first revelation settle. Before prophets thundered, before psalmists sang, the rescue plan was already etched in a list of baby. Keep your mind's eye fixed on the parchment. We're only halfway through the wonder. Lift your eyes from the scroll and picture a timeline stretching like a ribbon across the screen. On the far left, Adam's creation sparkles like a sunrise icon. A thin gold line carries us 230 years forward to Seth's birth, and the line keeps pulsing, each patriarch marked by a simple glyph. A tent here, a stone altar there, until you reach Methuselah. His marker is a water droplet poised above a date label, the year the skies would rupture. Now, mirror this antediluvian ribbon with a second ribbon running just below it. This one begins with Bethlehem's star. As we advance the upper line name by name, a matching New Testament event glides into position below. Beneath Mahalalel, a cradle icon appears. The blessed God arrives. Beneath Jared, a simple down arrow lights up, shall come down. Under Enoch's point, a small scroll unrolls. Jesus teaching on a Galilean hillside. Methuselah's raindrop aligns with 3 nails crossing each other. His death will bring judgment and salvation. Lamech's forlorn tent nudges into place right above a garden tomb sealed in silence. And Noah's ark of comfort stops directly over an empty tomb bathed in sunrise hues. Rest at last. Zoom into Methuselah's hinge moment. Genesis says his very name means, when he dies, it shall be sent. Jewish oral tradition insists. Noah started building the ark while his grandfather still breathed. The year that breath ceased, floodgates opened. Now trace that echo into the gospel ribbon. Christ's crucifixion unleashes judgment on sin and simultaneously opens the ark of grace. The genealogy isn't a lucky coincidence, it's a prophetic metronome ticking through centuries, striking perfect chords in both testaments. The camera pans along the lower ribbon to Acts chapter 2. Pentecost flames flutter over apostles' heads. Here, Enoch's teaching finds full voice as the Spirit empowers ordinary fishermen to proclaim mysteries to every tongue under heaven. Swing back to Genesis 5 and notice how Enoch never dies. He's translated directly into God's presence. Luke's Gospel and Acts together mirror that ascent. Christ rises, then the Spirit descends to keep teaching through willing vessels. One genealogy, two covenants, perfectly synchronized beats. Let's pause the graphics and return to the scroll in our hands. Run your thumb over the inked ridge of Lamech's name. Despairing. Imagine the heavy silence in Noah's generation as rainfall begins for the first time in human memory. Despair is not an antique emotion, it sneaks into modern apartments lit by LED screens too. That is why Noah's syllable is the gentle exhale after the storm. Fast forward to the present, anxiety charts spike, burnout headlines multiply, yet this genealogical whisper offers the very remedy Jesus later articulates: "Come to me, all who labor, and I will give you rest." Slide back to our dual ribbons. On the upper line, Noah steps onto dry ground and offers a sacrifice. On the lower, the book of Hebrews declares that the Messiah's once-for-all sacrifice ends the need for endless offerings. 2 floods, 2 arks, one of gopher wood, the other of pierced flesh. Both proclaim shelter, but only the second spans eternity. Now imagine folding those 2 ribbons together like a DNA helix. They twist, align, and reveal that history has always been written in a double spiral, earth below, heaven above, meeting in a carpenter from Nazareth, whose lineage traces straight back to Adam. Luke actually records that unbroken line, and when his quill reaches Enosh, son of Seth, son of Adam, the genealogy of Genesis has completed its long loop into the gospel. What does that mean for us? It means Scripture is fractal. Zoom in on any corner and you'll see the whole story shimmering inside. It means no verse is filler, every name is a pearl threaded on a scarlet strand. And it means that despair, even in your era of 24-hour news flashes and sleepless nights, still meets its answer in Noah's syllable of comfort fulfilled by Christ's open tomb. So here's the invitation. Next time you stumble over a biblical phone book of names, don't skip slow. Ask what each syllable might be singing beneath the surface. The author hides symphonies in the silence. Keep that thought handy, we still have one final sweep to make, because the same code that anchored hope before the flood also sketches a roadmap for the age ahead, and the closing strands of our 2 ribbons may hint at how despair will ultimately surrender to unending rest. Take one more slow breath and imagine the camera gliding from that double helix timeline back to you, present day, with the ancient scroll hovering like a hologram beside your shoulder. The inked names pulse faintly, as though eager to speak once more. You read them now with new ears, Adam man, Seth appointed, Enosh mortal, Kenan sorrow, Mahalalel the blessed God, Jared shall come down, Enoch teaching, Methuselah his death shall bring, Lamech the despairing, Noah rest. That single breath of Hebrew is no longer a riddle. It is a heartbeat you can almost feel against your ribcage. And if that heartbeat reached across floodwaters and empires and crucifixion wood to find you tonight, what might it be asking of you? First, it presses a question of trust. Long before there was a cross on a hill, the rescue plan had already soaked into a genealogy nobody bothered to read. If God can weave perfect hope into a baby name list, perhaps he has also laced purpose into the dull stretches of our own histories. The forgotten jobs, the wasted semesters, the Tuesday afternoons that felt like filler. The scroll seems to whisper, nothing is filler when the author holds the pen. Second, it presses a call to rest. The code ends on Noah. Rest, comfort. That word lands like cool water on a culture running fevers of anxiety. Technology hums, schedules buzz, notifications claw at attention, yet the gospel hidden in Genesis 5 insists that rest is not laziness, it is arrival. The despairing finally exhale because someone else carried the weight. When Jesus later cries, "It is finished," he is, in effect, handing Noah's syllable to every soul that will take it. Third, it presses an invitation to curiosity. If the first genealogy can hide prophecy, what else have you skipped? How many verses have we skimmed while hunting for devotional firework? The scroll invites a new posture: linger, interrogate, dig. Pearls rarely float on the surface. They wait in the cold dark until a diver is brave enough to descend. Finally, the code presses us toward proclamation. Genesis 5 did not decode itself. Someone took time to align meanings and tell the story. You might be that someone for a friend scrolling through despair tonight. Imagine sending a single text. Did you know the gospel is hidden in the 10 names between Adam and Noah? Curiosity is evangelism's secret doorway, and this genealogy is. Here is a simple liturgy for the week ahead. Read Genesis 5 aloud. Slowly, name by name, then whisper the sentence those names form. Rest one evening without screens, trusting that unfinished work can wait because the cross already finished the work that matters most. Record a verse you have always skipped, and commit to digging its layers until at least one unexpected gem glints back. Reveal what you discover. Share it in a comment, a conversation. A postlight spreads best through open windows, not sealed jars. If you stayed to the very end of this exploration, type one verse in the comments so fellow explorers know they are not alone in their curiosity. And while you are there, nominate the next passage you want decoded. Maybe another genealogy, maybe a forgotten law, maybe a psalm whose chorus hides a cipher. This channel exists because hidden music deserves an audience. The camera fades, but the scroll remains, its ink eternal, its whisper unspent. Man appointed mortal sorrow. The blessed God shall come down, teaching that his death shall bring the despairing rest. Somewhere in that single ancient breath, your own name is waiting to be woven in. Listen for it and rest.